Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy. Howdy. Today we have a piece of 200-year-old red maple. This comes to us from Frank Bua. Frank lives in Connecticut, and he harvested this from a 4-foot trunk that was a tree taken down from Hurricane Sandy, Lewisboro, New York. I'm going to take this to the bandsaw and cut a circle out of it. It's going to make a circle about 11 inches, and it's going to be about 3.5 inches thick. So let me get over to the bandsaw and we'll see what we can do with this piece of 200-year-old red maple. Stand by. I generally use gouges, and we will certainly be using gouges on this piece, but we're also going to use this carbide tip tool. And I just thought I'd take a second, because I've been asked a few times how I sharpen them. There's really only about one way that I know of, at least for guys in their shop, and that is just take the flat side, not the bevels. You don't want to sharpen the bevels, just the flat side, not the other side. Have a diamond card, put a little lapping fluid on there, flat side down, just put your finger on there and make a few circles. Takes about 30 seconds or so. Just go round and round and round and round. These cutters can be expensive, like up to 15 bucks a piece or something. And you can sharpen them many, many times. Like I said, about 30 seconds. Hit sharp. We're going to be turning at about 600 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge. We're going to be working on rounding this up. I did not do a great job on the bandsaw, but it's close. After we get this rounded up, then we'll take the carbide cutter and straighten up the bottom and the top. Let me get my mask and face shield on. We'll get at it. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere here. You know, I think I'm going to go to carbide early, see what that can do for me. Now when you use your carbide tools, you want to be dead on center. You want the cutter to be right on center. Let's see how that does. You can't see me facing off the top here, so I'll do that off camera. I'll be right back. Okay, now we'll just nibble away at the rest of this here, and we're turning at about 1200 RPM. 1300. That's all I can get with this tailstock in the way. I can't get right to the center because of the angle. But I do still need to get rid of that bark inclusion because it's just soft. Maybe you can see how far the nose is buried in here. Quite a ways. So I'm going to move back out here and come in again from the edge. Well, I want to get rid of this, and I still have to get rid of this whole bark inclusion. It's loose and it's soft. It's just not going to do us any good, so I need to get rid of it. But I'm going to work on this. I don't know if we'll go with a tenon or a recess. I might start working on this corner. 5/8 inch freshly sharpened bowl gouge. Mask and face shield on. 900 RPM. I guess if I knew what kind of shape I wanted to do, I might know if I wanted a tenon or a recess. Let's go with a recess. So I'm just going to touch the left side to the wood and see if the right side matches up. And it does. So there's our recess size. Oh no! I think that's my drilled hole. Oh no! It is. Doesn't appear to be centered either, does it? Well, now what? I guess I didn't realize that bark inclusion went so dang far up there and I drilled my hole too deep. Nice going, Phil. Well, I have an idea of how I can fix it. Shoot, that's embarrassing. I don't make mistakes, you know. I'm going to use my dovetail tool here to create a dovetail on the inside of this recess. I think probably what I'll do is I'll drill a blind hole and insert a coin in here. Alright, well, we have a recess. Now what are we going to do about a bowl design? What kind of shape do we want here? Let me think about that a minute. Well, the truth of the matter is I don't generally know what kind of shape I want to make until I start making it. So that's what we'll do. We'll just start making it and see what happens. Well, it cuts beautifully, my gosh. And I think I do smell some maple there, Frank. Boy, that cuts nice. Still have to put a base on here. We're going to be turning at 1300 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. So, what does that mean? That means we're ready for sanding. I've got a pretty nice finish off the chisel here, so I'm going to start at 180 grit and work up through at least 400 grit. And I'll be using my 2-inch disc sander to do that. I'm going to start in reverse at 350 RPM. And I'll alternate between forward and reverse, and I'll bring you back when it's time to put some finish on here. Probably sanding sealer and shellac, I think, is the way we'll go with this one. See you in a bit. I did stop at 400 grit. This is just really smooth, really hard wood. I don't think it's going to need 2 coats of sanding sealer. I'm sure one's going to do the trick. So I'll put on 2 coats of shellac just for protection. It's kind of nice to work on something like this once in a while. So that's what it's going to look like when I put the shellac on there as well. So I'll bring you back when it's time to drill a recess for a coin to fix my whoopsie. See you in a bit. Still can't believe I did this, making it necessary to hide it. But I did, and it did, and I'm going to. Lathe is spinning at about 320 RPM. Okay, that'll do the trick. And then I'll glue that in when the bowl is done. I'm going to do the same thing to the inside. I'm going to put heads up on the inside and tails down on the outside, so it'll take 2 coins. And it'll look intentional, and I'll look like a hero even though I'm a fool. Okay, time to turn this around and start hollowing it out. I've flipped it around and I've sharpened up my 5/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge. I'm going to get my mask and face shield on. We'll be turning at 1300 RPM. Coming along, I have to remember not to go too deep. I have to leave myself room enough to drill a hole for another coin inside here. And I think we're getting close. We are. We're about 1/4 inch. And that doesn't include the 1/8 of an inch or so that the recess, it's not quite an 1/8 of an inch, but the recess comes up in the middle, of course. And then, of course, I've drilled a hole in there. Boy, I better quit. Okay, I'm going to scrape it. Time for sanding. Well, that hole is just tormenting me, driving me nuts. I just still can't believe I did that. Starting with 80 grit, I'll work up through 400. I'll bring you back when it's time to put some sanding sealer on there. This is a real nice piece of wood that Frank Buha sent to us. 200-year-old red maple. So I'll do the same to the inside as I did to the outside. 1 coat of sanding sealer, 2 coats of shellac. And I'll bring you back in a few minutes when it's time to drill my blind hole for my dollar coin. See you in a bit. You ever use a plug cutter? Looks like this. And you drill into a piece of wood like this, and it gives you a plug like that. Well, to be honest, I didn't leave this bottom thick enough for a coin, for 2 coins. It's good for 1. We got 1 taken care of. But if I drill here again, if anything, I'm going to have a paper thin bottom in this side. And I wouldn't feel good about that. Not that I feel good about this, because I don't. But I found a place where it looked like the grain matched, kind of a lighter color, dark over there, dark over there. No, I don't expect it to be perfect. I can tell which way the grain's running, which is this way. So as long as I glue that in there like that, and then return it, okay, it's gonna look like heck. I know. I don't know what else to do. The only other thing to do would be to cut a much larger hole and fill it with a piece of walnut or something. I don't like that idea much more. I should just stick to what I know, you know? The natural turnings that I do. That's what I know how to do. So anyway, I'm going to give this a try. It won't hurt anything. I can always drill it out if I need to, or make a bigger hole and stick walnut in there, or I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what else to do. So I'm going to get some glue and glue this in there and return it. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'll get back to you. Well, I left this last night just disgusted with myself. My patch looks awful. Looks like a patch. It looks awful. And so I wasn't going to finish this piece, and I wasn't going to post the video, and I was just going to wipe it from my memory. But I kept thinking, well, how can I fix it? What can I do? Because I hate to waste wood, and I've got a little bit of time into this. I mean, not that much time, but I've got time into it. It's a nice piece of wood. Frank really sent along a beautiful piece of that 200-year-old red maple, and I sure appreciate it. I thought, well, I'm afraid this is really thin here. I know that it's not much more than 1/8 of an inch if it's that. But what if I was to take my texturing tool and textured the center of that, and then outlined it with a very shallow groove? What if I did that? Would that hide it? So I kind of think that's what I'm going to try, because it's usable the way it is. This bowl is usable as a bowl. I'm not going to sign it, I'll tell you that. I don't want anybody to know I did it. But it's, you know, you can put stuff in there. Fruit or something. I don't know what you'd put in there. Heck, this would probably hold soup. Definitely not an art piece. So I think I'll give this a try. What's the worst that can happen? Turning at about 500 RPM. I don't know, maybe that's just not working, is it? You can still see my patch. Taking my homemade point tool and outlining this mess. I don't know why it's off center. I'm going to put some sanding sealer on there and see if that does anything for us. Let me grab that, I'll be right back. Yeah, looks like a patch with an off-center texture. I'm still gonna finish this, even though it's just awful. It's just awful. I'm gonna finish it, so I'm gonna get it turned around, and we're gonna remove the recess. I'm sure you've all tuned out by now, and I'm talking to myself. I've installed a block of wood here in my chuck, and I'm going to put a piece of non-slip cloth over that, and then put the bowl over that. I've installed a soft touch on my live center. I'm going to spin up the lathe, hold my finger over here at the edge of the base, and see if it feels like it's centered somewhat, and it's pretty close. I'm not applying much pressure because that bottom is thin. Then I'm going to grab a 3/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge, and I'm going to round over the edges of this recess. And I'm going to take some kind of tool and round over where I was going to put a coin, but I'm not going to, because why waste it on this? So turning at about, let's see, about 500 RPM. The idea is just to remove any evidence of how the piece was held, and I think that's pretty good. Alright, that's good. No more recess, no more coin spot. And that's about the best I can do. We'll just let this be a lesson video, not a teaching video, a lesson video. I didn't teach you how to make a bowl, I promise. The lesson is, don't do what Phil does. Just don't do it. Resist the temptation. No, I didn't sign it. There's no way I'm putting my name on this sucker. It's a beautiful piece of wood. Frank Bua, thank you very much for sending this to me. It was a pleasure to work with as far as turning it, but it just didn't turn out worth a darn, did it? I did everything I could possibly do wrong. The reason the hole is off center, I figured it out, is because the bottom wasn't flat when I drilled the hole for the woodworm screw. And I was aware of that, so I shimmed it up, but I think I didn't shim it enough. So when I drilled straight down, it was straight up here, but by the time it got to the bottom, it was off center. And that's why it's off center there and why it's off center here. Not sure if it shows as well on that side. So don't do what Phil does. Do something else. Do anything else. Just don't do this. If you like this video, not likely, thumbs up please. Yeah, you betcha. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I have no idea why you would. I put out regular videos, about one a week. They're not like this. And I'd like to keep in touch. Your comments are always welcome, and I read all of them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.